In my recent research paper, my main research question was, how did the Cambria Iron Company develop into one of the world's leading iron and steel producers? My methodology was to read and assess various primary and secondary sources and then determine how the company ultimately succeeded. Primary sources include letters, speeches, and reports written by the general manager of the works, Daniel J. Morrell, as well as other important individuals including John Fritz, Alexander Hawley, and Henry Bessemer. Although there has been a significant historical study of Cambria iron by Sharon A. Brown of the National Park Service, there has not been an extensive study of Morrell. James A. Swank, who was a native of Johnstown and the secretary and general manager of the American Iron and Steel Association, also provided invaluable statistics and historical commentary. The historical significance of the Cambria Iron Works is that as one of the nation's largest rail mills, its vast production relieved the dependence on imported British rails and led to the expansion of the railroad network throughout the United States. By the middle of the 1870s, it was the largest steel producer in the United States, producing over 100,000 tons of iron and steel, or 1,800 to 2,000 tons of rails per week, employing over 4,000 workers and owning over 46,000 acres of land, sprawling 7 counties in western Pennsylvania, along with 56 miles of rail. It also produced important innovations, including the experimentation in making cheap steel and the 3-high rolling mill. After the Cambria Iron Company, the steelworks in Johnstown were then subsequently owned by the Cambria Steel Company, the Midville Steel and Ordnance Company, and the Bethlehem Steel Company, which at its height employed 16,000 workers, which finally closed in 1992. The original Cambria Iron Works are known as the Lower Works. Several buildings of the Lower Works are listed as historical landmarks on the National Register of Historical Places. In 1881, the company added Gautier Steel, which continues to operate today independently and on a smaller scale. And in 1901, Cambria Steel constructed the Franklin Works, which has largely been demolished today. My great-great-grandfather worked for Cambria Steel, and my grandfather worked for Bethlehem Steel. If you type in Daniel J. Morrell into Google, the results tell the history of a freight ship that sunk in Lake Huron in 1966 in a violent storm. The ship, though, which transported iron ore from Lake Superior to Coal Ridge, Pennsylvania, in order to make iron and steel, was named after Daniel Johnson Morrell, the general manager of the Cambria Iron Works from 1855 to 1884. What I found in my research is that one cannot tell the history of Cambria Iron without telling the life of Daniel Johnson Morrell. Samuel J. Reeves, another prominent ironmaster, provided a perceptive explanation to its success. If I were to give the history of the Cambria Iron Company and their great works at Johnstown, and were to follow them through subsequent years of prosperity and continual enlargement, I should find myself recording the daily life and business routine of Daniel J. Morrell. Originally constructed in 1852, the Cambria Iron Company soon suffered financial difficulties. With little experience in the iron industry, Morrell visited the works in 1854 and invested in them through Wood Morrell and Company. He then became general manager of the works in 1855. In 1857, Morrell worked with John Fritz, who designed a 3-high rolling mill for the iron industry, and William Kelly, who experimented in the production of refined iron or cheap steel, in what would become known as the Bessemer process. He then helped form the Kelly Pneumatic Steel Company and the Pneumatic Steel Association, where he proved influential in bringing about the steel revolution. During the Civil War, Morrell encouraged the enlistment of his iron workers into the army. Afterwards, he served 2 terms in Congress from 1866 to 1870. As the chairman of the Committee on Manufactures, Morrell advocated protectionist policies in order to build American industry. He wanted the U.S. to be a manufacturing nation with good-paying jobs that supplied what the country needed and exported the surplus, rather than a consumer nation importing goods produced with cheap foreign labor. In his first speech to Congress, he described his understanding of protectionism. He said, "The American working man must live in a house, not a hut. He must wear decent clothes and eat wholesome and nourishing food. He is an integral part of the municipality, the state, and the nation, subject to no fetters of class or caste, neither pauper, nor peasant, nor serf, but a free American citizen. He must be sustained by higher rates of wages than those of Europe. Our industries operated by American citizens must be freed from foreign interference and organized into a distinct American system, which will exact some temporary sacrifices, but result in general prosperity and true national independence." Morrell and the company leaders also cared about the Johnstown community, building a hospital, school, library, store, a gas and water works, and providing workers with various benefit opportunities. As with many other industrialists, he was opposed to the formation of unions. In 1880, Morrell sent his top engineer to inspect the South Fork Dam, which was being constructed, and offered to help financially in order to ensure that it was safe enough to withstand any flood. The offer, though, was denied, and when the dam broke 9 years later, it resulted in the horrific Johnstown flood of 1889.